So I honestly thought that by leaving my godmother's home, I would be separating myself from her and from the spell work. But I was completely wrong. Actually, once I left her house, the spells and the curses got worse. They got more powerful. Once I made it clear that I didn't want to be involved with her anymore, it was like she was just shameless at that point. There was like an obsession with doing spell work on me, sending entities to me, sending entities to my home. Maybe 3 weeks after leaving her home and moving into my own space, I began to see entities and shadows walking around in the space. One night I'm doing yoga in my apartment because I was having this back pain that right on my spine. I found out months later that was my solar plexus. My solar plexus was being attacked by entities and by spell work. So the consequence was back pain and attacking my solar plexus. The point was to take my willpower, take my confidence, take my strength, drive me to unaliving myself. And truly, to be honest, it almost worked. Basically, the spiritual language for it would be that she opened a portal on my head and on my crown because she wanted to drive me insane. Like, there's only a fairly thin veil between the physical and the spiritual. So if somebody is doing spell work on you to thin that veil, then things and entities will be coming through that veil. And so I'm laying on the ground and I'm looking up at the ceiling and I see an entity. It was just a big warped face. If anybody used to watch Scooby-Doo and they would have those ghosts and it would be like translucent and it would have like a really wide mouth and eyes like it came through the veil with his mouth like open towards me. I was extremely calm throughout a lot of these situations because I was like, if I panic, I am going to lose my mind. No matter what I seen, no matter what entities I seen, no shadows I seen, I made sure that I remained calm because it was a very thin line between me and insanity. After seeing that spirit charging at me, I was like, okay, I got to talk to my ancestors. I got to go to my ancestor altar and figure out what in the world is going on. I basically talk with them and they're like, you need to move home. And I'm like, I just got into this apartment. I just bought all of this furniture and now I need to move home. Never in my life heard my ancestors cuss. I knew it was serious. I knew I needed to go because my ancestors were yelling and cussing at me. So I talked to my ancestors. I go and lay down and I'm not even gonna lie, I'm hard-headed because I was like, look, is there a way that I can make it through this without having to sell all of my stuff and go back home to my parents' house? And I'm going to bed thinking I can choose whether I want to stay or go. I'm laying in the bed and my sleep by this time is absolutely terrible. I'm constantly having nightmares of being fed things. I started praying and training myself to wake up whenever anybody tries to feed me anything. But because the feeding dreams were so constant, I'm waking up like every 10 minutes, every 30 minutes. Which actually was just making the situation worse because the more you keep waking up out of your sleep, and once you go back into sleep, you're going to be more tired and you're going to go deeper and deeper into the sleep. So I got to a point where I'm like constantly waking up and going back into sleep. And so at one point, it's like I got caught in between the physical and the spiritual. There is a overlapping place. Think about it like a diagram. You have two circles. And then there's the overlapping place in the middle. There is an overlapping place between the physical and the spiritual. And I got stuck there. So I'm in that overlapping place. I literally see my door to my room open. And I hear my sister's voice. That's what it sounds like to me, like my sister's voice. And it comes over to me. It's speaking to me like it knows me, like it's my sister. It asks me, can I use your charger? And I say, yes, it's behind the bed. It gets into the bed and bites me. I mean, I can literally feel it. Bites me right on my spine where I've been having those back troubles. When I say I got up right then and there at that moment and started packing all of my stuff up, and started putting it on Marketplace so that I can sell it and I can get the hell up out of that apartment. Once I literally felt an entity bite me, I said I gotta go home. I don't care what I pay for this stuff. I don't care what lease I gotta break. I'm getting out of here. By Friday, all of my stuff was sold. I sold all of my things for dirt cheap. And honey, I had some nice things. It was so sad and it was so disheartening, but I was so focused on surviving. I did not care what I had to give up to keep my life. The impact of the hexes and the spell work on my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual state was so harsh that by December of 2023, I was telling my sister how to prepare for my transition. I was feeling and sensing and even seeing the entities and the spirits in the physical. It got to a point where I was just so certain that these entities was going to harm me physically. And so I told my sister, I don't think I'm going to make it out of this. So I want you to prepare to create an altar for me when I pass so that my spirit can be elevated. I call her and I say, I don't want to scare you, but I want you to prepare for a situation where I may be passing. It was nice to be at home with people who could keep me sane. That was the main purpose of my ancestors telling me to move home, because they were like, look, if you stay here, you're going to lose your mind and you're going to be walking out here barefooted, butt naked and confused. You need to go home so that somebody can take care of you and keep you in your right mind. Because by this point, I'm regularly getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night. My face is gray and drained because I'm not sleeping enough to replenish my energy, to balance my hormones, to give me any vitals. You know, my vitals are all out of whack, basically, and I look half dead. Part of the spell work that she was doing against me was to disconnect me from my ancestors. Yes, spell work can be done to block your ancestors and to block your spirit guides from finding you or from you being able to find and detect them. And so my ancestors came through and they actually told me, yo, we have always been here. We have always been speaking to you, but your mind been fucked up, okay? My ancestors had to begin to give me one word messages in my head over and over and over so that I would know it was them, because there were so many voices in my head, okay, that I could not tell who was who. Like, I was regularly telling God and my ancestors, like, I cannot hear y'all. I don't know who's talking to me. I was having all of those dreams that I was eating things because they were feeding me spirits, feeding entities into my spiritual body, okay? And so that's how I was having all of those negative thoughts in my head. I go to my altar and they kept saying the name of this one product for me to use. And I said, okay, I'll do it once I get done talking to y'all. And they said, no, do it right here, right now with this altar open so that we can tell you exactly what you need to use to heal your back. I cried to my daddy. I cried at my ancestor altar. I was crying regularly about my back. Pain was so searing and excruciating, and it got to the point where I could not stand up straight, where everywhere I went, I was walking bent over, and I am 26 years old, walking like I am 80. I can remember a lady in the store in those electric, she says, excuse me, does your back hurt? I really was not trying to speak or claim the pain in my life. So I was like, no, my back don't hurt, even though hell yes, it hurted. And she said, do you take medicine for it? And I said, I'm trying not to. I'm doing everything to avoid having to take medicine for some back pain. The back pain was so bad that even other people was noticing that it was affecting my posture. And it was so very hard for me because I've always been an active person. What my ancestors told me to do, it required me to wear, like, to make a salve, put the salve on my back and to wrap it, to like wrap my back as well. And I told my ancestors this, I'm about to wean myself off of this salve because I'm not going to go the rest of my days putting this on my back and wearing a back brace. And then I started back getting into yoga. And so I had to do yoga like every day, sometimes twice a day, to get my mobility back and to help my back.